Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would talk about something slightly different, which is of course the future of War Thunder itself. And you know how there's always been a ton of speculation when it comes to what will eventually come to the game at the higher tiers to replace what is already there. With a lot of vehicles such as the Leo 2PL, the T80 BVM, the T72B3, many of them are already the top tier of their specific nations. Stuff like the ZTZ-99A, the Type 10 as well, for another example. And even though there are a few more MBTs you can add, such as for the Swedish, the SDRV, the B+, or however you want to put this, the 122, at the end of the day, there are limited options when it comes to MBTs, apart from a few nations, such as, of course, America. And today we're going to be talking about America, looking at an announcement that General Dynamics made over the last few days. On the 4th of October, they released an article called General Dynamics Business Units to Participate in AUSA 2022. Now, if you don't know what AUSA is, basically it's the Association of the United States Army's annual meeting and exposition. It's scheduled for the 10th of October at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center, and of course, General Dynamics have a bunch of interesting toys coming along. So for the more interesting stuff for us, you got the Abrams-x, the Striker-X, the Striker Leonidas, and of course the TRX Breacher, which looks like Bob the Builder's little truck on steroids. So the Abrams-X comes in as probably the one that most people are interested in, the idea of the next generation MBT. But one thing to stress is this is just a technology demonstrator. This is not something which would probably go fully into service just by itself. It would obviously need a few modifications, but it's kind of just showing what General Dynamics are capable of at the time. And when it comes to War Thunder, this is something that could easily be put into the game later on. When it comes to the Abrams-X itself, the General Dynamics say a main battle tank for the next generation. The Abrams-X technology demonstrator features reduced weight for improved mobility and also transportability, delivering the same tactical range as the M1A2 Abrams with 50% less fuel consumption. The Abrams-X's hybrid power pack supports the US Army's climate and electrification strategies, enhances silent watch capability, and even allows for some silent mobility. With a reduced crew size and AI-enabled lethality, survivability, mobility, manned-unmanned teaming, or the MUMT, and also autonomous capabilities, the Abrams-X can be a key node in lethal battlefield networks and serve as a bridge from Abrams SEP V3 and SEP V4 to a future tank. So the idea is this is going to be something to kind of demonstrate what can be done and what they're looking to do in the future when it comes to America's new main battle tank. And there's still a bunch of different vehicles that can be added to the game at the higher tiers. And the question really is, will something like this eventually get added? Of course it will. The only issue is time. Obviously, this thing has literally just been announced. They've talked about in the future, they've talked about, in the past when it comes to Gaijin, how long it takes to get a vehicle ready, get it sorted, and then get it into the game is usually a decent amount of period, and that is if you have all the information on it, and also if it makes sense to be here. Something like the Abrams-X, you could probably see maybe in 3 to 4 to 5 years' time when it comes to War Thunder, not necessarily in the next update. But it gives another thing on top of the more recent Panther vehicle that was talked about from the German point of view, which could easily be added as well if a model and everything is sorted. And even though we don't really know anything about it, the thing about top tier in War Thunder is it's pretty simple. A lot of it is made up because a lot of the stuff around the vehicles is still classified, especially when you have a look at some of the very high-tier vehicles like the Type 10, for example, where a lot of its internal systems, even though Gaijin has worked with the JDSDF to be able to get access to some of the stuff, it still is very highly classified how a lot of the systems work, and also the actual components of the vehicle, such as, of course, the armor profile of it and how strong it is. The AbramsX will be exactly the same way, so they could just implement it as they kind of feel like and kind of push forward with the general idea of this really interesting machine. And at least for me, when it comes to stuff like the AbramsX, it just shows that there is a next step. It shows that something else could come to the game in the future to replace what we now know as top tier. The fact that this thing has less crew, the fact that this thing probably will have access to an autoloader, and also some extra systems, means that it will be unique and interesting to see. Also, it means that we could have a few of the other vehicles, you know, the good old Thumper. I always enjoyed the M1 Thumper, which is basically an Abrams with a 140mm auto-loaded gun on it, which never really went anywhere. Very similar to what you see from a lot of other vehicles. There's also a Leopard, which had access to a 140mm, a prototype variant of it. So in War Thunder itself, there is a ton of options for these vehicles, and we already have technology demonstrators in the game. If you want to have a look at stuff like the XM8, for example, or the AGS, literally they are very much technology demonstrators and kind of were designed to win or designed to push forward with certain projects that were being created at the time and never really got anywhere. Now you actually have a different light tank which has been picked over all of them to be able to be made. It kind of looks like a mini Abrams. Stuff like the Striker X, the Leonidas, and the Breacher may not be more of vehicles which you'll see in War Thunder just because of their general use. Maybe the Leonidas, since it has access to a mobile short-range air defense system, the SHORAD, and also can have a bunch of different systems on it. But overall, stuff like the AbramsX I think is a surefire thing. And I'm hoping that, at least when it comes to War Thunder, and at least when it comes to everything going on, we will see more of these things going forward. I think it'll be nice to see. I think in general, you're looking at some pretty positive times for War Thunder ahead with all of these ridiculous vehicles. It means that top tier could easily change a lot over the next few years, and not just in the way of extra technologies like drones, but extra MBTs like the AbramsX. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Forge, Siegebreak, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, and also Sem Arslan, Wilkski, Uncle Bean, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.